Hello, everybody. It's Monday, January 13th, 2025. I'm DAVENEAL, and this is your afternoon rush. All your news in one place for your rush hour ride home. On today's episode of The Rush, we've got Disney being sued for $10 billion after an animator claims they stole his idea for Moana. Also, Bachelorette Jenn discusses her relationship with Sasha. Do they finally hard launch? I'm going to guess probably not. Plus, the California wildfire has become wildly political. But watch as Elon Musk gets schooled by a fire chief on his live stream. And David Spade takes matters into his own hands, offering a reward for anyone who can catch the arsonist. Also, Craig Melvin makes his official debut as the Today Show co-anchor. Will show the heartwarming surprise on his first day of work. All these stories and more coming up next on The Rush. Well, let's start with a feel-good story, why don't we? This is from this morning's Today Show, a clip from the Today Show's TikTok account, while TikTok still exists. They introduced Craig Melvin. Now, he has co-hosted plenty of times, as they swap people out, they go on vacation, but he's the official co-host, which is a very big day for his career and for his family. Here's the moment that Savannah Guthrie gets to introduce Craig Melvin as co-host of the Today Show.
From NBC News, this is Today with Savannah Guthrie and Craig Melvin, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today on a very special Monday morning. I don't know if I really heard that and absorbed it. We have a tradition here at the Today Show. Yeah, we play it again.
Craig Melvin.
Whoa. And who?
And Craig Melvin.
So they've got all these, events planned for him on his first day of co-hosting the show. And look, I don't know if you guys are like morning show people, but I grew up watching the Today Show with my mom. It was always kind of on when we were getting ready for school and things like that. And I completely understand the psychology of why people do love the co-host or don't. You pick a show that you love. Some people like Good Morning America. For me, it was just the Today Show. That was it. You got the 7th Hour with Kathy Lee and, whoever. They got this is a 17-hour-long show. But Craig Melvin, a big day for him. Here's a moment. And by the way, they put him through the ringer. They surprised his family. So look, I'll show you this real clip here. They surprised him right here when he found out. And he immediately breaks down crying. He finds out his family's there, his wife, his kids, his mom. Everyone gives him great praises. But is there ever a better praise than one from your mother? Here's Craig losing it on his first day at work.
I have butterflies in my stomach today. I always knew that he was going to do whatever it is, and I've always encouraged him, do what you can do. High expectations, you're not going to disappoint anybody if it's not the top, but do your very best. And he has proven to me that he and everybody else that he has done his very best.
Gosh, can we all get more of Craig Melvin's mom? Can we bottle that up and chug that every morning? You just want to impress your family. And what a pivotal moment. I mean, I feel like in anyone's career, you have these, little rungs up the ladder you climb, and then all of a sudden one day you look back and you're hosting the Today Show. A lot went right for that moment to happen. Congrats to Craig Melvin. So anyhow, yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk more about the wildfires, but just an update to the Spencer Pratt story. Of course, his wife Heidi Montag's song that they self-produced and self-financed 15 years ago is now hitting number 1 on iTunes and maybe climbing the Billboard charts, all because people sort of feel bad for them. They lost everything in the wildfire. Well, can he possibly save TikTok? This TikToker thinks maybe.
Have any of us ever thought that Spencer Pratt might be single-handedly saving TikTok right now? In a crisis, he has 7 days to raise money for his family to rebuild their house because they lost friggin' everything. He is hustling. He is telling us to watch his videos for 1 minute and a little bit longer so that he can make money off this so that they can rebuild their home. Like, hell, Supreme Court. This type of crisis happens to Americans every single frickin' day. Do you know how many times I have come to TikTok as a teacher on a teacher's salary to save myself from some type of monetary crisis I'm having in my own life? No, I've never had my house burn down or lose all of my belongings, but there is always something happening to every American any given day of the week. This is just a natural disaster, maybe, but he's proving to you that we need this.
Now, whether we need this or not might not change the opinion. It looks like it's pretty finalized that TikTok will be going away unless, I don't know, some crazy Shark Tank billionaire comes in and swoops in and buys the thing. I just don't know. But, Spencer Pratt can take his work over to Instagram, which, by the way, how convenient for Mark Zuckerberg if TikTok does get banned. I mean, it's so obvious what's going on here, why they would, want the American billionaires to be raking in all the money. But either way, Spencer Pratt, 1 week left to make as much money as he can on TikTok. I truly think, I don't know if they'll get a documentary, but I find the life and the trajectory of Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag fascinating. They've recently spoken out about The Hills show and how contrived it was that they played their part as villains of the show, and it was, relatively scripted. And meanwhile, they've maintained their relationship this whole time. I think it's the only relationship from the show that lasted. And they've overcome that quote-unquote villain edit. And now here, finally, audiences get to see the empathy as they've watched them have their whole life destroyed. And yet, through the generosity of the audience, are actually having probably a moment they'll never forget. Tragedy plus generosity equals, quite possibly the momentum they need to not just rebuild, but thrive after that. Now, every story that comes out of the fire is not going to be so serendipitous and so magical. Sadly, the point that this TikToker is making is the same point I had for our friend Jill. Our friend Jill, who's got stage 4 cancer. I said, look, we can rally all we want to get universal health care because you were denied the coverage you need and this and that. But I think if you start telling your story on TikTok, start telling it on Instagram and on YouTube, that it's easier almost to get change from our peers, because humanity is easier to reach through social media than it is through politics. Very sad stuff. But another way to make money is to sue Disney. Now, of course, you have to have a case. $10 billion lawsuit. Yeah, with a billion dollar lawsuit accused of stealing Moana idea. Am I pronouncing that right? So they're facing a $10 billion lawsuit from an animator who alleges the studio copied the idea from Moana and its sequel. Buck Woodall claims Disney stole elements of a screenplay he wrote for an animated film called Bucky. Both Bucky and Moana follow teenagers who defy their parents and travel from their Polynesian villages to save their homes, meeting ancient spirits along the way. The lawsuit, per The Hollywood Reporter, points to other similarities between Moana and Bucky, including the protagonist in both stories meeting a demigod covered in tattoos and wielding a large fishhook. Yeah, was your demigod named The Rock? In which case, no, look, $10 billion, probably not going to get that, but if these similarities are close enough, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney tries to settle with a $40 million settlement. Just throwing that idea out of my bum. Who knows? But, Disney and other corporations are known and notorious for borrowing. We call that plagiarism of ideas. A lot of times you'll submit a writing packet to a company only to find out that you didn't get the gig. I think for Saturday Night Live, if you want to be a writer on the show, you have to submit a writing packet, but in the fine print, it says they can take that material whether they hire you or not. So corporations being predatory. On this case, I'm citing, just off without knowing any more information, the fact that if that screenplay has a timestamp on it and was registered with the Writers Guild of America, which it probably is, then I'm sure he's got a hefty payday coming his way. All right, before we get to the dramatic news coming out of California, that being the wildfire, the metaphorical wildfire of trash TV, trash fire really is what it is Vanderpump. But they've got a whole new cast for season 12. Peter Madrigal, who's like an on-again, off-again pseudo cast member who comes and goes, he says he knows that their reboot's new cast for season 12, and he says it's going to be insane. There's a lot of drama going on at the restaurant. There always is. He tells people of their new servers. So he's been around for a bit. He says, I know the new cast. Yeah, I know them pretty well. There's a lot of drama going on at the restaurant. There always is. So it's going to be insane. It's going to be a little bit intense. Absolutely. Now, whether that's hyperbole or not, he obviously benefits from the show doing well, is yet to be seen. I'll tell you what, though, I will give this show my honest thought, my absolute honest thought, and I'll let you guys know if I think the new season's any good. I don't care if these cast members don't have Instagram followings. I don't care if their name's not Lala, Kent, or Sandoval. If they bring the drama, people will talk and people will watch. All right, speaking of drama, let's get to this next story before we take our break. Here is David Portnoy on his Best Friends podcast talking to John Gruden, who's a former coach and commentator, who's now a commentator for Barstool. A.J. Brown was caught reading a book on the sideline of his playoff game, and they just can't believe what they're seeing. Now, apparently it's like a motivational book. He reads it when he's not on the field. I mean, hey, they tell you reading books is a good thing. It's not the playbook. Here's what they had to say.
Coach, if you're out there, coach, and you look back and you got your star wide receiver reading Moby Dick on the sidelines when you don't have the football, what do you do in that situation?
I don't know. I'm speechless on that, Dave. I have no idea what the hell's going on, who's monitoring the sidelines, but they might as well bring an English professor down there to teach class. It made me sick letting a receiver do that during a game. I don't care who it is. But now, I go back...
I mean, look, what if he needs to read a book to stay focused or else he'll get anxiety? You know what I mean? I don't know. If he's doing his job, I say do whatever the hell you want. Read a book, do science experiments. I don't care.
What if he said, that's what I thought. And then you read it, you saw the book, and the book has come out now. The book is basically a self-help book on how to stay in the moment. BX, does that change it? Like he's trying to stay locked in by reading a little passage here in his book. Or there's no reading on a Gruden sideline.
No, I'm just learning these things. There's no props allowed on the field. If you have a touchdown, you can't pull out a cell phone or a Sharpie, and you can't read a book on the...
All right, there it is. The No Fun League, the NFL. You can't even read a book on the sideline, not even a Kindle. All right, we'll have more coming up next. We have Caitlin Clark and the scary story where a stalker was arrested near her premises. That coming next. A man was arrested for stalking WNBA superstar Caitlin Clark, sent sexual and threatening messages. Quite disturbing stuff. I guess they were able to track this guy down. Some of the messages actually alluded to him driving around her house. He says 3 times a day. Also, he said he's getting tickets to sit behind the bench. And Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears addressed the matter in a statement saying, it takes a lot of courage for women to come forward in these cases, which is why many don't. In doing so, the victim is setting an example for all women who deserve to live and work in Indianapolis without the threat of sexual violence. So, yep, she's setting a great example there, and I'm glad they were able to catch the guy. All right, let's get to your wildfire news. Actor, comedian David Spade offers $5,000 if anyone can catch the arsonist.
Hey, I'm out in California, and people are saying there's guys lighting fires out there. Make this worse. They just caught somebody, we're pretty sure was lighting fires, walking on with a blowtorch. They let him go. So if you can find someone lighting a fire and you catch somebody and you can get the cops to bust him and throw him in jail, I'll give you $5,000. So keep your eyes peeled and do what you can out there. Don't fake it, though.
Jeez, he goes, don't fake it though. So, okay. So yeah, there was somebody who was arrested, but they couldn't pin him. I guess they didn't have enough evidence. And hey, that's the world we live in. If you don't have enough evidence, you can't hold somebody, right? And I'm sure even if they did release that person, they've got 7 different people with their eyes all over them. But yeah, it's a scary time out there as the winds pick up. The fires are still being dealt with. And politically speaking, it's just absolutely insane. It's insane to me that anybody would make a political, we're trying to get political capital in the middle of the destruction. I don't remember Hurricane Katrina. And by the way, I know people were mad at George Bush. I was there at Hurricane Katrina months after, helping people, get things out of their homes that had evacuated and try to rebuild. I saw the devastation. It was Americans helping Americans. Yes, after the destruction, after the dust has settled, you go in and you audit what went right, what went wrong, and you can fry whatever fish you want to fry. But we're in the moment. We're in the moment where we need to be completely focused on stopping the wildfire. Either way, Governor Gavin Newsom is in a beef with Elon Musk. Elon was exposed as a liar, so says this title, over water shortage misinformation. I don't know the full story about why there was a water shortage. All I know is with hurricane-like winds, people were saying even if all the reservoirs were filled with water, they couldn't possibly stop the embers from just tearing apart the different towns. Here's Elon Musk. I guess he was trying to lead the witness, as it were, to get information from a fireman chief. We'll see who it was, and he actually got debunked live on air. Have a listen.
All right, what about water availability? Was water availability? I understand that was like not an issue in Malibu. Is that correct?
Was it water?
Yeah.
So there was water. We have several reservoirs that encinos that we use a lot. Now, just an example, if we have one building burning, we could flow 1,000 gallons a minute on that one building with the hose lays that we put in to stop it. You can imagine 1,000 gallons per house, we couldn't do, right? So the amount of water we're flowing, there really is no water system.
So look, it's like if you have Wi-Fi. Well, my Wi-Fi works great. But if 1,000 people need my Wi-Fi, it all gets denigrated. The bandwidth can't handle that. So the fact that they all needed water for so many different fires at once could lead, and by the way, people will comment, everyone's an expert on the water tanks and reservoirs right now. But we got to follow the experts. Get your news from the source. Get it from the fire chiefs. Get it from the source. Don't get it from the people that are trying to, I guess, scare others into placing blame at this early in the fire, placing blame. And you're going to see Dean Cain, former Superman, say, well, I feel like California is going to be Republican after this. How about we worry about America? How about we worry about, I don't remember anyone going into the hurricanes wondering, now look, no, and by the way, yes, there are individuals who said, don't go help that house out if they have a MAGA flag. That's ridiculous. I admonish that. We shouldn't be doing that, and we shouldn't be politicizing this event. We're all red-blooded Americans. We're all humans, and we should be helping each other.
That's going to keep that pace, so we have to bring in water tenders, which are these big tank water tanks that, 2,500, 3,000-gallon trucks, and they'll come in, and that's what we have to do to compensate. So they park out there, do it. DWP did a great job. They brought in big water trucks for us, and we use them as basically mobile hydrants.
All right.
Right, and then we have our own agency as well that has water tenders.
Okay. My understanding is that like along the, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, in Malibu along the coast there was no shortage of water. In the Palisades there was a shortage of water at a certain point. Or is that not accurate?
Well, we were flowing just an amount of water that the system couldn't overbear.
So he keeps asking the same question. I mean, maybe they did run out of water, yes, but also this is a once-in-a-lifetime style storm. No one ever goes up, if a perfect storm, happens and a hurricane hits a cyclone and all of a sudden a ship goes down and no one goes, well, was the ship not built right? It's like, no. Ships sink, the mother nature is a mother, it's a beast out there, right? And so Gavin Newsom responds, a lot of misinformation out there. Just launched a new site to ensure the public has access to fact-based data around the Southern California wildfires. The truth, California did not cut our firefighting budget. We have nearly doubled the size of our firefighting army and built the world's largest aerial firefighting fleet. California has increased forest management tenfold since we took office. California will not allow for looting. Now, maybe there was a cut in firefighting in LA County. This is where it can be complicated. And I still don't know. And they're still doing the audits because some say, well, they took money out, but they put it in a different fund and they approved it separately. I don't know. I don't know how the heck all the audience members seems to know. Just let's fight with all the tools we have right now and support people right now. And then afterwards, we can look at what went wrong. And if there is a case where something went wrong, yeah, someone should pay the price politically. Here's Superman star Dean Cain says, California is going to be Republican. Again, who the hell cares about this? Let's stop the fire.
It's one thing to vote, the feel-good votes and blah, 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 when it doesn't affect you. And that's kind of what Hollywood has done. They voted for all these things that really don't affect the folks that are making the money and making the movies and doing these things. They don't affect you. But when it does affect you, you can't get a permit to rebuild, or your house burns down, or people loot your home afterwards. Suddenly, you love the police. You love the firefighters. You love people that you've been denigrating.
And by the way, I don't believe people have been denigrating firefighters or the police. Yes, there was a movement called Defund the Police. I think that was not the majority of how people felt. It's really about spreading out where you do put your tax dollars so that it doesn't go to just a police militia and goes to things like firefighters. I think the firefighters should have had more of a budget, and maybe the police department should have had less of a budget. You live in LA, you always see all these LAPD police helicopters going around, and I'm like, I don't want to live in a state that feels like it's a militia. So anyhow.
For years, you want common sense policy. I can't get a permit to rebuild. This is crazy. Yes, it's been that way, and we've been screaming and shouting and sounding the alarm. So once it affects you, your votes change. All
right, so he thinks people are going to go Republican. And look, there is a big bureaucratic red tape problem that exists out there. There's a lot of red tape that they're going to have to find a way to expedite. Actually, Gavin Newsom spoke, and I'll have to find that clip after the break. He actually spoke about trying to expedite the process because we do have the Olympics coming to Los Angeles in less than 4 years. And wouldn't it be great if everybody can come together, the rebuilding process, fix the infrastructure, fix all these problems together, unified as a people. And look, maybe he's got a point that it'll swing some people's, vote in the other direction. But don't forget who voted against the funding of social programs like firefighters, right? That's, I think he's completely misguided in making it an us versus them thing where I believe Californians, who, by the way, represent a huge diversity. It's not just, sure, it's a state that ends up voting blue, but it's a very large state with plenty of red votes in there as well. And people can come together sensibly and find a way to put their tax dollars to the best place possible. All right, more content coming your way right after this. If you guys are like me, you understand how frustrating it can be when the wildfires happen to think, what would I do to protect my house and my family? And I think most people just can't understand the scope of the wildfires. But here is an Army veteran explaining how lawn sprinklers helped save his home from the Palisades fire.
Your home did survive. How did you manage to do that?
I was able to, after the last brush fires that got close to us a couple of years ago, I bought these cheap sprinklers, the ones that wave back and forth, and bought hoses, had them ready, popped them up on my roof, turned them on. I sprayed down a fire retardant on the side of my house, and I left. Got out with my family. I got trapped by the flames going down Sunset. It was difficult. It was like Afghanistan type difficult. But what happened is, because I had those sprinklers up there, the flames came down the hill, and you could see from where the sprinklers arced in the backyard that the flames came right up to that water and stopped.
And look, I mean, maybe there's a solution moving forward where every home is equipped with a giant flame retardant powder that you can spray on homes. I know it sounds crazy to float different types of ideas, but if every home can be equipped with a $10,000 tool that can give you half an hour to, give your house a chance to survive, and maybe a sprinkler goes off in the center. I know this is crazy innovation. And by the way, those sprinklers aren't going to work if the water's run out in the reservoir from fighting the fire. So I don't know. It's complicated, but maybe there's some innovative ideas when they rebuild that people can think of, because obviously people will rebuild. They got to find a way to get the insurance companies to come back. Now, Donald Trump has some thoughts on the wildfires. He thinks that when he takes office, it's going to get a lot cooler.
Because if we ignore that science and sort of put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
Okay. It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually.
There it is. I'm going to be the coolest president. I'm going to cool the fires off with my coolness. Look, I don't know. Science doesn't get everything right all the time, but clearly storms are getting worse. We just had a hurricane go inland and it went into the mountains. What's going on with that, right? The colds are getting colder, the wets are getting wetter, the dries are getting drier, and the hots are getting hotter. And what world do we want to live in? Very scary stuff. All right, I promised you I would cover Jen Tran, what she had to say. Here she was on her Snapchat addressing the dating rumors with her and Sasha.
Sash, this person wants to know if we are more than coworkers or friends. We're the cutest couple they've seen, and you make me happy, which I deserve, apparently.
Who's this person, your mum?
What? No, it's on Snapchat.
On Snapchat?
Yeah, do you want to say something to them?
I want to say that I'm just a very private person.
And we're here to have a lovely dinner together.
There it is. Private and having a lovely dinner together with paper plates, by the way. I'm not judging. So, yeah, there they are. They're going to continue to suck on that good old teasing teat of whether or not they're dating. And people can care or not care. By the time they hard launch, nobody's going to care. That's fine. That's okay. We'll still be here to cover it. Hey, the new season of Bachelor starts in a couple weeks. In the meantime, it's barrel scraping season, baby. I'm here with all of your entertainment news, your fire updates, and I'm going to try to provide some feel-good stories for you. I hope you enjoy. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and make sure you're subscribed, not just to the channel, but to the Rush Hour podcast playlist. And if you're on the audio only, give us a nice review, share us with your friends. Appreciate all of you guys out there. I'll be back in the morning. I'm Dave Neal. This is The Rush.